Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're taking a literal backstage tour into an art form that, believe it or not, dates all the way back to the ancient Greeks. We're talking about drama. Now, before we really get going, just take a second and picture your absolute favorite play or even a movie. Have you ever wondered exactly how that story was built from the ground up? Well, we are going to break down the essential elements that take a narrative from just a spark of an idea to a fully realized, living production acting out right in front of a live audience.
Okay, let's dive into this. Think of this agenda as our playbill for the day. We've got a 5-act structure for our backstage tour. Act 1 is setting the stage. Act 2 covers the characters and dialogue. Act 3 is the architecture of plot. Act 4 is theme and style. And finally, Act 5 brings us to opening night.
All right, Act 1, setting the stage. Because every great drama absolutely needs a solid foundation before the action even kicks off.
So, setting. This dictates the mood, the time, and the place of the story. And if you're ever reading a script, you'll see this crucial world building is usually right there in the opening stage directions right next to the cast list. It instantly pulls us into a very specific reality.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how that conceptual setting actually gets built inside a physical theater. You've got the stage itself, the literal raised platform where the magic happens. Then there's the set, which is the stage plus all the scenery. And finally, the properties, or props for short. These are the specific items the actors actually interact with, so this excludes costumes and the background scenery. Together, these pieces literally transform an empty room into a living, breathing world.
Moving right along, Act 2, the characters and dialogue. It's time to meet the people who actually inhabit this world we just built. Playwrights generally rely on 2 distinct types of characters to populate their stories. First, you have your flat characters. These are your one-dimensional figures, usually embodying just a single primary trait. Think of them almost like a quick sketch. On the flip side, you have round characters. These guys are fully developed and incredibly complex. They possess multiple attributes that are sometimes completely at odds with each other. And honestly, that's what makes them so lifelike, flawed, and completely unpredictable.
But how do these complex characters clash and connect? Through dialogue, of course. Now, this isn't just your everyday conversation. Dialogue is the absolute engine of the play. Every single spoken word is a tool for these characters to negotiate their conflicts and really to aggressively drive the action forward.
Which brings us to Act 3, the architecture of plot. This is basically the skeleton of our story, driven by one massive central problem.
Okay, so we have characters talking on a set, but what are they actually doing? Well, they're dealing with conflict. At the very heart of the plot's architecture is a struggle. It's the main problem, whether that's a deep moral dilemma or a literal physical fight. Frankly, without this friction, there's just no drama. It's that simple.
And this brilliantly illustrates how that struggle generally breaks down. It typically takes one of 3 classic forms: man against man against himself, or man against his environment. These are those fundamental, relatable battles that create the exact friction we pay to see play out on stage.
So how is all that conflict organized? Well, it follows a very structured narrative arc, kind of like climbing a mountain. It kicks off with the exposition. That's where we get the background on the characters and the current situation, maybe with a little sneaky foreshadowing sprinkled in. Then comes the complication. Here, the conflict is introduced and the plot literally thickens as the problem gets, well, complicated. The tension just builds and builds until, bam, we hit the crisis. This is it, the ultimate turning point of the action. The tension here should be totally palpable because it's the absolute point of no return. A critical decision absolutely must be made in this moment, and whatever outcome the conflict is going to have depends entirely on this one specific choice. So, the crucial point is that this crisis inevitably triggers the climax. This is the point of highest interest and maximum intensity in the entire drama. It is the absolute peak we have been steadily climbing toward since the curtain first went up.
Finally, we reach the dénouement. Simply put, this is the final outcome or the resolution of the story. Now, here's a really surprising fact from our source material. This conclusion is often quite short. And actually, in some experimental plays, authors might just omit it entirely, leaving the audience to sit there and resolve all that lingering tension completely on their own. Wild, right?
All right, let's look a bit deeper. Act 4, theme and style. This is where we get into the brain and the stylistic skin of the drama. While plot tells us what happens, theme and style tell us why and how. The theme is the core message, the big idea or perception the author really wants to get across, which slowly reveals itself through the story. Style, on the other hand, is the unique way the author actually uses language. It's super fascinating because style is what can make two plays feel completely, entirely different from one another, even if their underlying message is exactly the same.
Let's move to and see how this builds practically. This unique style is heavily enforced through stage directions. Think of these as the author's hidden hand, secretly guiding the whole production. They don't just tell actors, hey, stand over here. They dictate the precise emotional delivery of lines, specific physical gestures, and even the exact atmosphere the set should have.
And now for the moment of truth. Act 5, opening night. This is where all those elements finally come together. The scripts are written, the themes are embedded, and everything is about to explode into life for an actual audience. Just imagine that thrilling pre-show countdown backstage. Let's run the checklist. The cast has learned their lines. The audience is in the seats, or what theater folks affectionately call the house. The prompter is standing by in the wings, ready to cue the actors, meaning giving them a word or action to signal them to start speech if they happen to lose their place. And finally, the technical director dims the house lights. Ready or not, the play goes on.
And right at that moment of ultimate anticipation, in that heavy, hushed silence right before the curtain rises, you will almost certainly hear this traditional, highly superstitious greeting echoing through the backstage area. Break a leg.
We've covered some incredible ground in today's explainer. So the next time you take your seat in the house, I've got a challenge for you. Look past the costumes, look past the lighting. Ask yourself, what is the true conflict driving these round characters? What invisible theme is that playwright secretly whispering to you through the dialogue? Once you start seeing this hidden architecture of a play, trust me, the theater is never the same. Keep exploring and enjoy the show.